Okay then, so we're back working on the slightly broken BMW E46 320d. Before we get into things, make sure you give this video a like. It really does help me out and it shows your appreciation. Now then, we've had a bit of time off away from this car. I do obviously have other projects on the go. I have a BMW 130i, 760 Ally, and also a Mini Cooper S R56 that I'm currently rebuilding the engine on as well. So yeah, I've had to take some time off from this engine. I did get very frustrating. Obviously, the issue with this car is a fuel related issue, so we are pretty much stalling out. I mean, the engine does run, it runs for about 30 minutes or so, then it dies completely random, and then it is very hard to start. It has very long cranking, and we are still pretty much no closer to finding out what the issue is. So far we've swapped out the fuel filter, we've swapped out the in-tank fuel pump, and we've also swapped out the pre-supply pump as well. Now, I do read all of the comments. I appreciate everything that you guys are saying. The large majority of people seem to think that it is an electrical issue. To be honest, I really don't think it is an electrical issue. The fact that the pre-supply pump underneath the car is noisy, I think that is kind of a symptom to our issue. I don't think an electrical issue would make the pre-supply pump noisy. I think the only thing that would make the pre-supply pump noisy is either air getting into the system or some sort of blockage in the fuel system, and I think that is what our issue is. I think it is air getting into the fuel system or something related to the fuel system itself. I don't think it's electrical related, but we are going to do a few checks. Like I said, we do have power to the fuel pump in the boot. People keep saying, you know, check the relay inside of the glove box. I don't think it's bad. We have power to the in-tank pump, but we are going to be checking it anyway. I'll probably swap it over with one of the other relays. I don't have another one to hand, but yeah, we'll probably start off doing that first, and then we'll probably do some more in-depth checks inside of the engine bay. So I'm actually going to put the battery on charge because although it seems to start up fine, there's no indication that we have a low voltage. It has been sitting for a couple of weeks now, so yeah, I put it on charge just to make sure we have a full 12 volts. Yeah, the last thing we want is having to shell out for a brand new battery as well after the expense we have already incurred. Okay, so like I said, I'm starting with the fuel pump relay. So the fuel pump relay is, it's going to be hard to see, it's that one just there, which is labelled as relay number 3. I'm going to swap it for that one, which is relay number 5. That one is the fog light. So yeah, let's get that one removed, swap them over, see if it makes any difference. Okay, so this is the original fuel pump relay removed. Like I said, swapped it out for the fog light one. That is now in position. So I guess let's fire the car up and see if we notice any difference. Okay, here goes. Car hasn't been started in about a week or two now. There it goes. Yeah, it's obviously not our issue. Still got the long cranking. Yeah, no good. Like I said, I didn't expect it to be a relay issue. That's why I've kind of been putting it off all this time. We have power to the fuel pump. That's working absolutely fine. That's obviously been replaced along with the pre-supply pump as well. So yeah, I can't see it being an electrical issue, if I'm being honest. Okay, so next thing I was going to do then was an injector leak off test. Now, for whatever reason, I can't even get the engine to fire up now, so I guess we'll kind of have to skip that step for the time being. What I'm going to do though is remove both of the sensors on the fuel rail. So one is a pressure regulating sensor, then one is just a pressure sensor, I believe. So I think just for ease of access, I'm just going to remove the intake manifold. It's not difficult on these engines at all. And then yeah, just inspect both of those, make sure they are looking well, and see if we have any obvious signs of there being a fault with them. And then also just make sure that all of the fuel pipe unions are all nice and tight. Okay, so intake manifold now removed. One thing we do know is these swivel flaps have been removed also, which is good. Okay, and so first thing I'll do is just make sure all of the fuel pipes are nice and tight. 17mm spanner. Yeah, they all seem fairly tight. However, it is a bit wet around here. And it actually does look a bit wet on the end of this fuel pipe here. If you have a look on the end of this fuel pipe, notice how that one's particularly wet compared to the others. And there is a bit of a puddle on here actually, on top of the rocker cover. So could we have had a leak from here? Or could this just have been when, you know, say a fuel filter was changed, maybe someone has cracked this loose just to bleed all the air out? I don't know. I'm guessing that's a possibility, because the fuel filter was changed like 3 weeks before I bought it. So yeah, I don't know if this was a leak or not. Okay, so I'm going to start removing both of the fuel rail sensors now. Front one is a 27mm. Already cracked it loose. There we are, that's that front one removed. And there's the rear sensor removed. Okay, so first of all, just going to give them a clean with some electrical contact cleaner. There is some very fine pieces of grit on both of them. Now there's also one more sensor that is on the back of the high pressure fuel pump, just here, and it actually looks like this has been replaced at some point. It has some paint marks on it, which would indicate that this is a second-hand part. And the two bolts as well, they don't look like original bolts, do they? So yeah, I think I'm going to get this removed and inspect this as well, because there is an O-ring on here apparently which can actually fail and cause you to lose fuel pressure. So yeah, let's get that one removed as well. Finally got it removed. This was so difficult. The top two bolts were relatively easy, but the bottom one, that was fiddly. So this is the O-ring that I was talking about that can fail. This one appears to be in okay shape. Doesn't appear to be anything wrong with it. But again, I will just give this a bit of a clean, both inside and out. Okay, so I have cleaned the high pressure fuel pump sensor, and I think I'm going to get all three of these reinstalled back on the car and see if we notice any difference whatsoever. So all three sensors now back in place. Let's see if we can fire this thing up now. Okay, so I think we need to go back to the drawing board, get ISTA hooked up and see if we have any new fault codes. So just have ISTA loading up, just doing a full vehicle check. We'll see if we have any new fault codes. Now then, kind of what I'm thinking is, could it be a possibility that something prior to today was kind of on its way out? And then the fact that today we can't even fire the car up, can't even fire the engine up, could it be that something has now completely failed? I mean, usually that would be the case if it would be the fuel pump, for example. Like when it's failing, you'll notice that your engine will stall. You might be able to get it started, which is pretty much, the case of how it's been the past couple of weeks. But now that obviously we've replaced both of the fuel pumps, I don't know, very, very strange. Let's see what ISTA has to say. Okay, so these are the fault codes that we have at the moment. I'm obviously just going to clear these. Now, bear in mind, a lot of these will just be because we have the engine in bits at the moment. Obviously we have the intake manifold off, so we're going to have charge air pressure sensor, intake air temperature sensor, air mass flow sensor. They were going to have those issues. Rail pressure sensor, I'm guessing that's because we just unplugged that. Pretty much the only one that we really have that we had before was the rail pressure monitoring on engine start, which really doesn't mean a whole lot. We have one for relay pre-supply pumps activation. Like I said, I'm guessing that's because we removed the relay. I don't know, let's try delete this fault memory and then see what comes back. Okay, so this is strange. Just delete the fault memory and we still have the relay pre-supply pumps activation error code, which that's interesting. I'm going to look into that. Okay, so we're back up and running, as you can see. Now, I don't know what the situation was with that relay. I just unplugged it and plugged it back in again, and then I also reinstalled the fog light relay as well, which I don't see how that can have any bearing on the fuel pump relay, but yeah, plugged that back in, and then put everything back together. Fired the engine up, and after a little bit of cranking, it fired up. So we're pretty much back where we started, but at least because we now have the engine running, at least now we can do an injector leak off test. Okay, so as you can see, I have my injector leak off tester kit set up. So all 4 injectors are connected to these pipes here, and it should be these 4 bottles. Yeah, these 4. So yeah, let's get the engine fired up and let's see if we have excessive leak back in any of those bottles. So far we look pretty similar across the range. If we had a problem injector, then you know, one of these would be filling up much quicker than the rest. So as you can see, that's all pretty equal there. Yeah, so I've left it for around a minute now. As you can see, they're all, you know, relatively the same, so there's no point leaving it, you know, running for any longer. I don't think our issue is a faulty injector. Right, car's getting scrapped. No, but honestly, I don't know how much more time and how much more effort I can put into this car. I have, you know, other projects on the go, as I said, so they need to get done at the same time. I can't afford to keep putting more and more time into this car without getting it fixed. This was supposed to be a cheap, easy, quick flip. It obviously hasn't turned out to be that. I've spent a good few £100 on it already. We've swapped out the fuel pump, like pre-supply pump, in-tank pump, fuel filter. I have a bunch more parts ready to go on the car as well. I have a new downpipe catalytic converter. I have gearbox oil, differential oil. I have a new gear knob. I have glow plugs, a glow plug module, all ready to go back onto the car. And yeah, obviously I'm not going to fit that until we fix the initial issue, but I don't know how much more I can do it. It's so frustrating. I honestly do appreciate everything that you guys say. If you do have any suggestions, please do leave them down in the comment section below. But please don't just guess. Please think methodically, you know, what we've already done. Like I said, a lot of people are saying it must be an electrical issue, but why would an electrical issue make that pre-supply pump noisy? It could be an electrical issue, but I need to know sort of why, you know, before I decide to go down that route. But yeah, so frustrating. I don't know what to do next, to be honest. I kind of don't want to work on it again until we are for sure going to fix the issue. I'm guessing this is, you know, a somewhat common problem. You know, these cars are 15 to 20 years old now, so there must be at least a few people out there who has experienced this issue before. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to just guess now and, you know, try and, you know, swap parts out for the sake of it and, you know, make another video just for the sake of making another video. I've pretty much checked everything that it could possibly be that I have thought of, and what you guys have suggested as well. So you guys suggested, oh, it must be the fuel pump relay. Obviously we've checked that. Then you also suggested that to do a leak-off test. I really didn't think it was an injector at fault, but we've done the leak-off test. We've determined it is not an injector at fault. And then we've checked those sensors as well. So the 2 sensors, one's a pressure sensor, one's a pressure regulating sensor, I believe, on the fuel rail. And there's also that sensor on the high pressure fuel pump itself. We obviously checked that and made sure that the O-ring wasn't leaking or anything. So yeah, I'm all out of ideas at this point. Like I said, leave suggestions down below. I'm all ears, but please, you know, actually think about it for a minute. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video anyway. I'm not going to ramble on anymore. Give this video a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.